Good day, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of the CARICOM News Highlights. We have rebranded as CARICOM News Time. Same program with a brand new look. I am Tusankin English Francis.
And I am Michelle Nurse of the CARICOM Secretariat's Communications Unit. Thanks for joining us.
In the news this week, Barbados was the venue for talks between Venezuela's political factions.
CARICOM heads of government agreed to support CSME focal points in member states to push implementation.
Heads of government want legislative framework in place for agricultural workers, beauty service practitioners, barbers, and security guards to move freely in the CSME.
Here are the details. Barbados was the venue for talks between representatives of Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro and its opposition leader Juan Guaido. This development comes on the heels of CARICOM heads of government agreeing that the Prime Ministers of St. Kitts and Nevis, Barbados, and Trinidad and Tobago would continue mediation-related activities involving Venezuela. At their 40th regular meeting in St. Lucia, the heads of government expressed support for the facilitation process being carried out by Norway with both sides of the dispute. In the lead-up to the talks in Barbados, Prime Minister Mottley told reporters that it is never too late to talk.
Let the people talk, and when you have deep divisions, it takes time, and I have every confidence in the government of Norway being able to do what CARICOM has wanted done since January in our conversations together.
CARICOM heads of government are concerned about the slothfulness in enacting the necessary legislations that would allow for the implementation of administrative measures to improve the functioning of the CARICOM single market and economy.
That in building out the single market and single economy, that we need to build capacity. And indeed, there had been a time when within the community we were sharing the resources among our Chief Parliamentary Council with respect to the drafting of legislation, acts and bills. That has fallen into the switch route. We've agreed that we need to work with our development partners to establish a regional law reform commission that will comprise of eminent legal brains to help us, because legislation is at the core of governance, and if we can't prepare the policy and the legislation that's necessary to bring about the changes within the single market and the single economy, we're not going to see the level of progress that we ought to be seeing. And therefore we are grateful also that the Premium of Cayman Islands has agreed that their own law reform commission will work with CARICOM in the establishment of this regional law reform commission.
The heads of government also agreed to step up public information and education on the CSME and to timely reporting on the progress of implementation.
You may recall that in December 2018, agricultural workers, beauty service practitioners, barbers, and security guards were added to the agreed categories of skilled nationals who were entitled to move freely and seek employment within the CARICOM single market and economy. At their meeting in St. Lucia, the heads of government further agreed that those categories of skilled nationals should be facilitated administratively by December 2019 and implemented legislatively by July 2020. They mandated the Council for Human and Social Development, COSOD, to expedite its work on the definition and qualification requirements in order for member states to meet the stipulated timelines. The inclusion of the new categories of skilled nationals is recorded in the St. Anne's Declaration following the 18th special meeting of the Conference of Heads of Government of CARICOM on the CSME in Trinidad and Tobago.
Prime Minister Mottley of Barbados is optimistic that her colleague heads of government will continue to lay the groundwork for the CARICOM single market and economy to thrive.
Services agreement, the work towards regional harmonization with the stock exchange, the credit rating bureau, the whole question of a common investment policy. Similarly, There are some definitional issues that we're trying to sort out with respect to fisheries workers. So we've separated fisheries workers from agricultural workers. This is the nitty-gritty of execution to provide the level of certainty that will give our citizens the comfort that we want them to have. Of course, we have made significant progress in the last year with the establishment of the contingent rights, people being able to move with respect to their families and dependents, and having the comfort that whether it's with their spouse and dependents, they can get certain rights as they move. The Public Procurement Notice Board that will allow businesses in different countries to be able to participate in procurement. These are some of the things that we have done in the last year, and quite frankly, we've done a hell of a lot, but we also recognize that we need to, just on a few of the more complex issues, which is what a lot of the financial services type agreements are, that we need to be able to carry along each and every one of our jurisdictions.
She is optimistic that when the leaders meet in Bridgetown, Barbados in February next year for their intersessional summit, there would be agreements on a number of key aspects of the CSME.
The Restructured Commission on the Economy is of the view that any development model within CARICOM must have at its core better education and skills training, technology-enabled government, and easier ways of doing business. In receiving the interim report presented by the Commission's chairman, Professor Avinash Prasad, the heads of government acknowledged that the critical task ahead was to drive CARICOM states to stronger, more sustainable, resilient, inclusive, and equitable development. The 7-member Commission of Regional Experts told the heads of government of their plans to develop and refine implementable initiatives with respect to innovation, public sector reform, transportation, and the improvement of access to financial and economic systems.
Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell of Grenada, who is the lead head in the CARICOM Quasi-Cabinet for Science and Technology, has been tasked with leading a regional committee to spearhead resource mobilization to expand the region's capacity in this area. Heads of government at their meeting in St. Lucia recognized the importance of science and technology to growth and development in the region. They welcomed a proposal to build a framework for an integrated Caribbean science, technology, and innovation system for socio-economic development.
There's a new executive director at CARPHA. That's the Caribbean Public Health Agency. From the 1st of July, Dr. Joy St. John, a national of Barbados, assumed leadership of the regional institution that is responsible for rationalizing public health arrangements in the region. Prior to joining CARPHA, Dr. St. John was Assistant Director General of the World Health Organization with direct responsibility for climate and other determinants of health. She was also the first Caribbean person to chair the executive board of the WHO from 2012 to 2013. Over a period spanning more than 10 years, Dr. St. John served as Chief Medical Officer at the Ministry of Health and Wellness of Barbados. From 2015 to 2017, she also held the position of CARPHA Director with responsibility for surveillance, disease prevention, and control. She succeeds Dr. James Hospidales.
Norway has offered to step up collaboration with CARICOM member states in the fight against marine pollution, especially from plastics. The country's Prime Minister, Ms. Erna Solberg, was a special guest at the just-ended meeting of CARICOM heads of government in St. Lucia, where she praised the region's commitment to tackling the growing threats in the marine environment.
And I would like to commend the Caribbean states for the initiatives and the measures that you are taking in the fight against plastic and marine litter. And I'm pleased that Norway is your partner in this endeavor. We recently co-hosted a festival on marine litter and plastic called Play It Out, together with Antigua and Barbuda and the UN. and Norway is providing $7.2 million in support for plastic waste-free islands across the globe, initiative where Antigua and Barbuda, Grenada, and St. Lucia are among the partner countries. And furthermore, I'm pleased to announce that Norway will provide funding to the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States aimed at reducing marine litter and pollution. In addition, Norway has launched a $200 million program to assist developing countries and states all over the world to combat marine litter and microplastics. At the same time, we need a global agreement to combat marine litter and microplastics, as been called for by Antigua and Barbuda in the St. John's Declaration. We seek to support the cooperation of CARICOM members to achieve this goal.
The Norwegian leader was also pleased that Jamaica's Prime Minister, Mr. Andrew Holness, had accepted an invitation to be a CARICOM voice on an international high-level panel being convened by Norway on building a sustainable oceans economy.
Jamaica is honored to have been invited to serve on the high-level panel on building a sustainable ocean economy. Oceans and seas are important to economic and environmental sustainability and the growth of small island developing states. Fishing, minerals, and of course, especially in the Caribbean region, tourism present for us important economic opportunities. But having history and knowledge, we should put both together to ensure that we exploit them smartly and strategically. And the high-level panel gives us the opportunity to do this. So, Prime Minister, we would like to commend you for having the interest and putting the resources and mobilizing to have this committee established.
Assistant Secretary General for Human and Social Development, Dr. Douglas Slater, says CARICOM continues to strive to secure quality of life of citizens in the face of persistent challenges. He was speaking on Wednesday, the 10th of July in New York at a Caribbean side event during the United Nations High-Level Political Dialogue on the Sustainable Development Goals. The event was held under the theme Building Back Better, Reckoning with Size in Pursuit of Resilience. Dr. Douglas Slater told the gathering that with a population of just over 18 million people, there were very few countries in the region which have escaped serious disaster-related damage within the past 2 decades. He said that the theme of Building Back Better is now ingrained in the psyche of regional decision makers. ASG Slater participated in several other sessions within the high-level political forum, during which discussion focused on sustainable development goals, including quality education, decent work and economic growth, reduced inequalities, and climate action.
The Caribbean Court of Justice on Friday issued consequential declarations and orders in 2 sets of cases from Guyana. The cases have to do with the appointment of the chairman of the Guyana Elections Commission and a no-confidence vote passed last December in the Guyana National Assembly.
Given the passage of the no-confidence motion on 21st December 2018, a general election should have been held in Guyana by 21st March 2019, unless a 2/3 majority in the National Assembly had resolved to extend that period. The National Assembly has yet to extend the period. The filing of the court proceedings in January challenging the validity of the no-confidence vote effectively placed matters on pause, but this court rendered its decision on 18th June 2019. There is no appeal from that judgment. Article 106 of the Constitution invests in the President and the National Assembly, and implicitly in GCOM, responsibilities that impact on the precise timing of the elections which must be held. It would not therefore be right for the court, by the issuance of coercive orders or detailed directives, to presume to instruct the bodies on how they must act and thereby preempt the performance by them of their constitutional responsibilities. It is not, for example, the role of the court to establish a date on or by which the elections must be held, or to lay down timelines and deadlines that, in principle, are the preserve of political actors guided by constitutional imperatives. The court must assume that these bodies and personages will exercise their responsibilities with integrity and in keeping with the unambiguous provisions of the Constitution.
President David Granger addressed the nation shortly after the CCJ's declarations.
The Caribbean Court of Justice has now concluded its deliberations and has issued its consequential orders on the consolidated cases related to the appointment of the chairman of the Guyana Elections Commission and the passage of the no-confidence motion. The court has noted that, of the greatest public importance, the President and the Leader of the Opposition should conclude the process of appointing a new GCOM chairman. The President of the CCJ, Justice Adrian Saunders, stated that this is imperative and of utmost urgency. I agree. I have committed since the 21st of December 2018 to the holding of free and fair elections. Credible elections are essential to representative democracy. Guyanese, it is clear that elections have to be held in the shortest possible time, and therefore, it is crucial to appoint a chairman of the Elections Commission. This could be done as early as Monday, if the opposition is prepared to act in a consensual manner and in good faith. GCOM, and not the executive, is in charge of the elections. GCOM has to advise the President on its readiness to conduct elections. I commit to the holding of credible elections in the shortest possible time.
There was a fine display of the depth of youth talent at the opening of the CARICOM Heads of Government meeting on the 3rd of July in St. Lucia. From the sweet songs of the St. Mary's College Choir to the excellence of the oration of Seth Isidore of the Eucharist Lewis Seventh-day Adventist Primary School.
Today, I too stand in a gap like Paul, and I boldly declare that I am not ashamed of the gospel of Jesus Christ, for it is the power of God unto salvation.
St. Lucia's youth reminded us of our region's creative prowess and that we are in good hands.
For these and other stories, you can visit the CARICOM Secretariat's website at caricom.org or visit the CARICOM news site at today.caricom.org.
Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. See you next time.